streaming streaming session. All right. So I was running a little bit late to start this stream, so hopefully we will get some of our people in soon. I'm gonna make sure that we have our meet friends with us if anybody want to join. Let me just check my stream here. I'm gonna say online now, and the stream is being sent out at Thomas Ochman on Twitch. Right. Let's see. Let's just get things out and about. I'm sorry about that. But today we will continue our journey into Node.js and testing and developing an API. Something that we started a few days ago, actually, but we made significant progress yesterday, which was, of course, very rewarding. Could you say that? Could you say that it was rewarding? I guess you can say that it was rewarding. So that's a positive thing. And now we will continue with that journey. Let's have a look here. We had So right, that kind of disappeared. Events, suggestions, crazy chat today. I learned workplace and music. Well, I was hoping that I could get right there. We go. Right. So where is that? Is that in general? No, that's not what I wanted to do. Anyway, let's see if we can get started with this thing. And move on to my control panel, and there we are. Donkey Kong, hi, how you doing? You want me to help me in Discord with my project? What sort of project are you looking at? Please tell me more. But in the meantime, let's see if we can get started. So I'm going to pull up my my terminal, and I'm just going to exit some of the stuff that I was doing before, and I'm going to cd into projects like this. Now, the thing that we will be doing is to make use of small package that I created. So Donkey Kong, I can tell you this: I do not know much at all with about MongoDB, so I'm probably not the right guy to help you with that. And also, using Express as a full stack with EJS, never done it. So I could potentially help you if you have some code that I can take a look at and a specific problem, but this is not my field of expertise at all, unfortunately. I'm sorry to say. But again, if you want to share some code, and I can, if it's open sourced, then I can definitely take a look. But back to my task at hand, what I've done is that I wrote a package that is called Node API Generator, and that I also published on npmjs.com, which is a tool that will allow us to scaffold scaffold a node application, which hopefully is a good thing to do. Let's see, general, there we go. Right, so let me just see where my colleagues are at. Right, online now. There we go. Right, I'm sorry about the weird. I need to copy URL so I can share that with my students and colleagues. There we go. All right. Right. So this tool is based on another package that some other people smarter than me probably created, and I am not in any way a fantastic expert on NodeJS yet by any means. I mean, but I'm doing the best I can, which sometimes is good, sometimes it's not what you need. But this one allows us to scaffold an API and start using it. And my idea is that I will take this for a spin and create a new application and then see if it actually works or not. I think it could be an interesting thing to do. And yesterday we were trying things out, and we actually got our unit tests and our feature tests or acceptance tests working. And on the acceptance test level, we are checking basically if a specific request to an endpoint actually works or not, and renders the appropriate response in JSON format. And on the unit level testing, we're just checking the behavior of a model, and we're using the Sequelize ORM, which is an interesting topic in itself, because it allows us to create database entries and as object rather than having to write SQL code, and I enjoy that a lot. So that's a positive thing in my opinion. So we'll see if we can basically get started. So let's check the documentation. We need to install this as a dependency, but so this is wrong. It's not npm install g. This is clearly wrong, so I need to fix that. I might as well do this as at this particular time. Hello, David. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm just going through
the document.
Again? Once again?
Am I early again? Or
well, early and early. We don't have a talk for students today. We just have this stream.
Okay. Sorry.
I continue to work. You have to check your email better, brother. I continue. It's okay. It's that's all right. I continue to work on that generator, for the Node APIs, right? So I just spotted a huge problem in the README file, because it should say Node NPI, Node API generator. So we should change that, Node API generator, and not this. Right, so that's that. Yesterday evening I pushed this this tool up to npm.js, so it's a published package now. That's I'm just going over some stuff. It was late night, so I couldn't really check all the typos and everything. You can join Twitch, or you can hang around here. That's or you can do both actually. So that's perfect. Right, but okay, let's run the command that we're supposed to run. So it's npm. I already have that installed probably, so that is not a very important thing to run, but let's see if we can run this. So just want to make a global install of this thing. No? Why would that be happening? Really? There we go. Right. Okay, so we are up and running on that one. And the next instruction is that we should run Node API, which is the CLI command, and then the name of my application, right? So let's see, Node API, and I will call my application club. No, I'm going to call this. Well, I'm going to call it bookstore. So we're gonna not bookstore. It's a boring domain. Let's do something more interesting. Let's do news of the world. Right, we're gonna build a newspaper application, at least in this demo. So let's do that, and we generate a lot of files. Okay, not bad. This is a problem, of course, that these installed dependencies, they show up in the middle of this output. I do not know why that is, so I'm going to have to check that at some point. But I can just reuse this command. I'm going to cd into the news of the world and do yarn, which is perfectly fine at this point. Well, hello David. Hello David, nice to have you back with us. Okay, so we scaffolded the application, and so we've already run yarn, that's okay, and I could just execute the tests. And this is a totally fresh install. We just scaffolded this app, but nonetheless, we can just say yarn test and see what tests are being created for us out of the box. Well, apparently some. So we have an endpoint API resource, and it is responding with status 200, and it lists a resource, and it's expected to include message and next step. So we're going to take a look at that in just a second. And then we have a lot of pending tests here. We have a model spec, and it's expected to have a table name. It's still pending, property, associated models, and all of that stuff. Okay, fair enough. Let's see if we can get this up and running. Just scaffolded this thing, and we are good to go. And the description, I included some. Hello, Aaron. Nice to have you with us. I included some instructions here, I could say help, of course. I can output the version number. I can add a git ignore and also force if I want to do this, run this generator on a non-empty folder. But none of that came into play. I do not have a git repo initiated here, so I would probably want to do git init, and we're good to go on that. And I also right, because we don't have a git repository. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd out of this, and I'm going to rerun this command just to see what it looks like. If I pass in this flag git now, and if I don't do force, that should actually render an error for me. It shouldn't scaffold an application now because it's in a non-empty folder. Destination is not empty, continue. Okay, so he asks me whether I want to move on or not. I'm going to say no at this stage, and so we aborted this, and now I'm just going to say dash dash, what is it? It's dash force, dash F. And now we did that because we forced it to do it. Okay, that's not a bad thing. And now let's cd and yarn again. All good. And yarn test. And now the difference is, of course, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the difference is that I now have a Git repository created by default by the generator. So I'm quite happy with that, actually. That's not a bad thing. Right. Can I do this? Current project. I think I have this command up. I don't know, not sure though. Perhaps I don't. Yeah, I thought I had a command set up, but I'm still learning how those commands work. Anyway, I also feel that my camera is a little bit in a weird place. So let's see if we can get that changed. There we go. Right. And now my good friend Lucas wants to join. Hello, Lucas. Nice to see you. How are you doing?
Wait, one sec.
No problems. Take your time.
Hey. I'm good.
All right.
How are you?
Well, I'm okay. I'm running a few experiments on this thing, on this scaffolder. So I just created an app, and hopefully we will get some progress made. I just actually found one typo in the, or not a typo, but a wrong, some faulty instructions in the README. So I'm gonna need to update that at some point. But that's not a biggie in any way. Right. Okay. So what else? Well, I could now. So I just created news of the world, Lucas, using that scaffold, and that.
Right. So we're back in the generator.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm just taking it for the last. Well, it's not the last spin, but I'm taking it for a spin, basically. So. Yeah. Make sure to join the Twitch stream too, in the background. So. Anyway. So, for those users who do not have SQLite CLI installed, so SQLite is an ORM, but SQLite CLI brings a lot of those generators and those tools to our terminal. So that needs to be installed. And one way of checking that is, of course, just to say SQLite help. And that tells us that we can do a lot of things here. We can migrate with some, we can undo some migrations. We can check the status of my migrations. We can check that, for instance. Now there shouldn't be anything. Okay, because the database does not exist yet, so we're probably going to have to create one. And we can see all of those commands that are made available to us by Sequelize. So that's a good thing. And I kind of included, this create database thing, so we can run the database creation and migration in both the development environment and in test environment. So let me see if I can run that. I don't have any migrations, so this will output that I didn't run any migrations because there was no migrations to run. Right, so it says no migrations were executed. Database schema was already up to date, but we did create the news of the world development database and news of the world test database. So that's good. And I'm saying here that this is the output you should probably get. I don't know if it's worth having that in the instructions or not, but I took that with me. And then I also included instructions about running tests in VS Code. And since it took me a while to hammer this out, I wanted to include that. So I will just copy this and open this in code, in VS Code. And I just, I run the tests, right? So the tests are okay, in a good state if I run it from the terminal. They are empty. I'm just saying, pending, waiting for you to write a test case on the. But I did include a basic request spec for the basic endpoint that we have, and also I also included like a template for a unit spec.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so if I no, that's not the one. Well, actually, I can make this one bigger. This is the one. Right. So if I go to the runner, and we do not have a launch JSON file. This is a brand new project. We do not have that launch JSON yet. So we can create one, and we can just say NodeJS, right, like this. And then I will just take this and replace it with the thing that I have here. Do you understand?
Right.
So this. And now I should be able to run my Mocha tests. Let's try that. And we are good to go here. Right.
Cool.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's see.
Just one thing, like your preference here, like so why are you doing it in here and on your terminal? Is it just to have everything in one place?
Not at all.
Or is there other benefits?
There are other benefits, and the benefits of that. Well, having them in one place is not bad, especially if we pair program using LiveShare or something like that. But I would say debugging. Debugging is the biggest upside, because even if I say something like, it might work, but it's easier to. So if I go to the resource feature, right? Let's say that I have an expect statement here, and I would put a debugger here and run this from the terminal. It's not necessarily gonna kick in. You see, it doesn't happen, right? Whereas it doesn't necessarily kick in here either, unless I set a dot, but it did. Right, so here we are, and now I can take a look at response, at the response object altogether, right? So I can debug this in a totally different way than if I run them from my terminal. So that is the biggest takeaway, I would say.
Okay. Oh, that's absolutely worth your while.
No, definitely. Okay, so let's see if we can get some work done. Let's make a commit. We have 16 uncommitted files, so we're just gonna do this. No, cancel. How do I do this? Do it like this? Right, stage services, and then I do scaffolds an application structure. Scaffolds and application. Right, that's okay, it's enough. Right, I do not have a remote repository for this yet. If anybody's interested in taking a look at this, let me just get this. I don't feel comfortable sitting like this. Anyway, I do not have a remote. If anybody is interested in taking a look at the code, I can share that repository and set it up on GitHub. But let's think about our first feature, right? I would say, so it's news of the world. So I would say that a visitor can see an index of news articles, right? So we're just going to pretend that there is a client, whatever client that is, native app or a React Native app or a desktop application or written in React or Electron or whatever, and they need to get a JSON response of all the news articles that are in our newspaper, and so they're going to hit a route. So I was thinking about a different, usually when we create those feature files, we say, API can serve index of articles or something like that, right? Or some descriptive thing. But I'm considering if we should do something like this: get API articles dot feature dot JS, right? Because this would then the file name kind of, oh, what the fuck did I do? Oh, it wants, no, I can't do that because it can't take slashes. No, I can't do that.
Right. Huh. Well, that was your answer.
That's my answer, right? So let's just delete this then. Okay, so I couldn't do that. Right. No. But what I could do is, let's see, if I do a folder and I just do API, can I escape this by any chance? Can I escape this? API articles. Right. Let's see what happens now. .js. I shouldn't experiment too much, I guess, but no, it wouldn't fly either. It still considers it a folder, so that's not gonna fly. Okay, so let's give up that idea. I wanted to, well, I could. No, I wanted to have the path in the file name. I think it could be very descriptive for whoever reads it. But anyway, we're gonna do something else. We're just gonna do new file and articles. I'm gonna call it articles index endpoint dot feature. No, but then it's not a feature, right? Oh, API can display, not display, but serve. It's so hard to come up with good names. You see, API can serve client with collection of articles, but then the title is way too long. .js. I am not convinced about this at all, actually. it's a descriptive thing, but the question is if people ever read those or not. You know.
Becomes too long. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so what we need to do always on top of the file is to create this section. I can't extract that to a helper. These lines needs to be there. I already extracted some other stuff that, in my opinion, I did whatever I could. So we need the factories, we need the expect keyword, and we also need to start a server because this is a request spec. So I have this server config here, and that I need this before block, and I need the request response. So I'm just gonna copy this from the default spec into this repository. All right, and then we're gonna have describe. I am not at all convinced that this file name is good. I know I'm a bit anal about this, but anyway, we want to say we want to describe a get request to API articles. That is what we want to describe. We want to make a get request to API articles. So in a before each. Why are you doing this to me? Before each block, I want to make this as an async call because I'm gonna have to create some factories here, right? So I'm gonna say await create factory create many, and what was it? I think I needed to say how many, 5, right? For instance, and
maybe the thing first, the model.
Yeah, the model. So it's gonna be an article model, and we're gonna say give this one a title. You know what? I'm gonna actually have you seen that Faker library for Rails?
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we see if there is a Faker library for JS? Because then I don't have to set those titles.
So Faker from NodeJS.
Right. Let's have a look. Faker or JavaScript, perhaps. We don't even have to.
JS.
Yay! Marak, Faker JS. Create a massive amount of fake data in browser and Node.js. Awesome.
Yes,
That's
please.
fucking awesome. Right. Wow. We can generate a lot of stuff. That's really, really good.
Does it do articles? Or names?
Statsuya0101, whoever you are, thank you for joining our stream, and thank you for the follow, and thank you for hanging out with us. And we are doing some Node.js API design, so if you're into Node.js or into programming whatsoever, stick around and let's learn together. And also, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, then that's perfectly fine to write an essay or a line or two in chat. Let's install this baby, and we're gonna install this as a development dependency. But how the fuck do I install that then? So it's just Faker, right? It must be Faker. Let's try that. Let's just try to say yarn.
Could be I.
Huh?
With an I. It says npm I Faker. All the way up.
Where? All the way down, or?
I'm in the npmjs.com.
Okay, let's check that out. npmjs.org. We're just gonna say Faker. Exact match. No, it's just Faker.
What's the I?
Faker. yeah, okay. Let's try that. Okay, so let's see what we come up with. Okay, so usage. Oh, sorry, usage. Yeah, we have to require faker, so I'm going to require it here. I probably would like to have faker required in the helper file already, but who cares, right? Well, yeah. Actually, you know what I can do? I don't even have to do it here. I can do it in the factory. I can fake this thing in the factory.
Okay.
Right. Let's see if that. So let's just not pass in anything here. We're just gonna say 5 at this stage, and then we're just gonna continue to run our tests because they will fail for us just soon enough. And so API response right before each. So we want to before each we're going to do this, and then we say response equals await request get request to API articles, right? And then we're just gonna I don't know if I need this factory cleanup actually, but I probably do, so I'm gonna move this over here as well. I would like to find a way to auto-generate this so we don't have to do this over and over again. But I can add a generator to my VS Code, but that would not be persistent, when you distribute with this package. I have to think about this, how to do that, because I don't want people to have to write all of this or copy this manually from the example spec.
That sounds
But
cool.
anyway, we just want to. We can copy these two over to our test here, and the first one should equal 200, and this will have 5 entries in it because we just created 5 articles. Right, so this is a very basic test. If this endpoint exists and if we have a factory, and there should be 5 articles in there. All right.
Yes.
Let's start to dig into this. I'm going to say dot only on this describe block, and I'm going to start running this thing. And it's failing because invalid factory article requested. There is no such factory. Okay. So at this stage, I can actually define the factory, because here comes the tricky part, right? What should I start with? I do not have the factory, right? So my thing, I was laying awake this tonight as well, and I was thinking, so if the request spec complains about the factory, I can always create the factory, but then the factory will complain that, hey, you're trying to create a factory based on a model that doesn't exist. Then I will start to create the model, and then I would, move down to the unit level. In my opinion, that is the best TDD or BDD TDD approach to this whole thing. So I'm going to go in and go to my factories folder, and I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it articles.js. That will be the factory for that. And I'm going to check the documentation for how we create factories, right? So I have this here, defining factories. We should visit the factory girl documentation. We've already been there, so we don't have to do that, but and then we can say the way I wrote this is that if you have a user model, right, that looks something like that, then you can define this factory, but nothing prevents me from defining this factory even if I don't have the model just to have it tell me that, hey, the fuck you're trying to do. There's no such thing here, right? So I can just be very lazy today, which is something I don't encourage people to do, because you always learn better if you write your code yourself. But let's just copy this into this factory, and instead of user, we will say article, right?
Oops.
And then we will say title, and we're gonna use the faker in just a second. But we're gonna say, what do we say, body, or what do we, so an article has a title and a body, right?
Body, we had a teaser, if you want that.
Or lead. Can you call it a lead? Can you say this, for instance? Right. And then body. Let's just say, or content. Should I say content? Doesn't really matter.
Content body.
Content is okay, right? So let's see if we can take a look at the faker thing, because I want to use it here, right? So I'm just gonna say const const faker equals require faker, right? And so what do we have on the faker? We have addresses, commerce, company, database, date, finance, git, hacker.
Should be a lorem at some point.
Yeah, somewhere, right? Internet, lorem.
There.
Right, so we can say lorem paragraphs, slug, not slug. We can okay, so I can say, how does that work? Now, let's see. We should need to see some examples. Come on.
Faker.lorem, I think.
Faker.lorem.word, faker.lorem.sentence, and paragraph. Okay. So we will say faker.lorem.word, like this, and then sentence, and here I will say paragraph, right? Right. Or even paragraphs. Can I do paragraphs? Yeah. So that's probably a bit longer than just one paragraph, right? So we'll see what that gives us when we actually scaffold this. Anyway, let's run this again, and it will tell us that the fuck are you trying to do, because, right, invalid model constructor passed to the factory. That was exactly what I was hoping for. That's really good. So at this stage, we can't move on with feature tests. We have to move to unit test level. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at the models, and we're going to do a model spec, and I'm going to just actually, I'm just going to rename this one. I'm going to reuse it, but I'm going to rename this to article spec, right? And we're still learning here, right? So we can do things like that. I'm going to remove this only from this describe block, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say only here instead, right? So I only use this one. Okay. So the model name will be article. That's what I want to describe. And I'm going to open up this, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to say article model equals const this factory, and we get this, right? And then we're just going to grab this one, and it's going to be an article, and it will complain about the same things basically, right? But let's just see if we can. Go ahead.
There's a small dot missing on article model 5 on line 5, the first one, I think.
No.
Or
This
no,
is
that's how it is.
this is how what I define it as,
Okay.
and then this is actually from the factories, right?
Okay. Okay.
So this is okay. So I'm just gonna remove this pending, open this up, and just say table name. It should be articles, right? Because it's a table name, so it's in plural. And let's do this, and this one should say articles. Right, and this, I don't have to open up the other ones because this will be problematic for me anyway. So let's run this now instead, and well, actually, yeah, let's run this. I need to define the model itself. Right, it still says that there is an invalid constructor passed to the factory, right? So that's okay. Let's clear this up and see if we can generate that model. Now, when we generate, if you have Sequelize CLI installed, then you can just say Sequelize and then generate everything. But you don't necessarily have to install it, I figure out, because you can always run it using npx, and npx looks in the node registry online and just executes it from a remote location. But I know that I have this installed. But are you kidding me? All right, so what I need to know, I need to take a look at the Sequelize data types, because I want the title to be a string, but I need the lead and the body to be text. Right, so here we are. We have string, a fixed length string, default is 255, 100 length, right, and text. Okay, so we're probably going to use string on the first one and text on the other, right?
Yeah.
Probably, right.
Sounds good.
So let's do Sequelize. No, Raisin, you're more than welcome. What we've done, just to fill you in, is that I use this this generator that I'm building, or built, or well, I kind of built it, and I scaffolded a new Node application. I just linked to that generator, and now we are generating our first model. So we're building the news of the world. Very ambitious project. It's just a demo. Oh, it's just a, we're just building this for learning purposes. So Sequelize, and we're going to say model, right? We've done this before, Lucas, haven't we?
Oh, yes.
Generate. Okay, and then we say name, and the name will be article, and then we do attributes. Oh, sorry. And now we say title, colon, string. And then we say lead, colon, text. No, yeah, colon, right. And then we say content, colon, text. Right? I think that's it. So let's run the generator. And it created a new model, and it created a new migration. Okay, let's have a look at the model before we just blindly run the migration. We have this, all good, Sequelize, that text, good. It did what it was supposed to do, in my opinion. I can't spot any errors here. We will add that scope. Remember that, the scopes that you, do you remember you came up with that yesterday? We will add that later on.
All right, cool.
And let's have a look at the migration. So we have that in database migrations. This is it. Query interface, create table, articles. We're saying allow null and all of that stuff. Right. So, Raisin, this generator actually didn't come from me. This one comes from Sequelize itself, but my generator creates the entire application structure. So, the less code you have to write yourself, the better, I would say. Means fewer typos.
Indeed.
Indeed, it does. Okay, so let's run the migration. So we can just now do, well, we can do Sequelize help, so we know how to run the migrations, and we just do db migrate. That was simple, right? But we probably need to say node env equal test node env Thomas. That's a capital all caps. There we go. And we just no, it's okay. We all learn. And now we did this good, which means that now I should be able, just by doing this, I should be able to run my unit spec, and that should give us a different error message, or at least potentially no error messages at all. Actually, we'll see. Yay! And it has a table name of articles. That's great. So let's have a look at the other specs, because we can probably do all of them. So I'm going to remove the pending from this one, and let's just open this, and we will say title string, right? And we'll say title, have the and that should be a string with capitals. String like this. We can copy this, and we can say lead text, right? And so we're just going to say lead, and this will be text, and then we're just going to do content, and that should also be a text, right? Right. So this one should pass for me now. If I haven't made a Google, we're good to go on that. We do not have any associations at this stage, so we can comment this out altogether. We don't need this for anything at this point. I don't want to remove this because we will use it later, and I'm not a hoarder, but still, you know, I'm not a hoarder. All right, so let's see. We have this instance tests, so we can just try to see them. Default factory value attribute, right? So I can say this, and I don't I would actually say that the factory, I don't want to say this, I just want to say this, be okay, to be okay. This is actually a matcher in Chai. I like this matcher. It's okay, brother.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah, I like
yeah, I'm okay.
How you doing? I'm okay. So let's see if we can, if it is okay. It looks okay to me. Right. Okay, so let's just open this one up, because now we were checking the properties on the model layer with those data types here, right? These are the data types from the ORM. Here I want to look at the title, for instance, to a property title, and it should be a string, right? And so I'm just going to move the only here to this one. Where's my only? There it is. Right, so I'm just going to run this, and it's okay. So now I want to see, you see, because there is no data type like text in JavaScript. Yeah, Sequelize does not provide any generators. So, and I don't really have generators for them as well yet, Raisin. What I'm planning to include that in that package in a later release. What I'm doing at this stage is that I just include a template file in my, when you generate a new app, and then I just reuse that code. But I would actually like to have a generator for those unit specs and for those request specs as well. So we're gonna check the lead, and lead will also be a string. It will not be there is no data type like that. So we're gonna have to run this. Yeah. So this is good. So there is a data type in the ORM in Sequelize for text, but not in JavaScript, which means that I will just copy this one. Well, no, sorry, this is a false positive. I forgot to change that, so I need to run it again. Right, and you see, it's much more convenient for me to do all of this in VS Code rather than having to switch to terminal and so on. I just run this manually, I feel I can get a bit more productive here.
Sure.
Actually, one could say, this just for clarity, but because we do have a double assertion here, right? So I don't know. Anyway, and then we have it's expected to have associations. We don't have any associations yet, so I can comment this one out for now. Again, being a bit hoarder. Do you mean, Raisin, you mean run the tests or run the generators from Sequelize? Yeah, the tests, yeah. So I do have a script, so I can just do yarn test if I want. But I prefer to run it through the runner in VS Code. But yeah, we could definitely expand on this and add even more nice shortcuts for the most common tasks, definitely. Okay, so we're good to go on the unit test level. Now, our very simple model does what it's supposed to do. Let's see if we can run the request spec again. No, it's okay. There are no off topics. No off topics. Just, let's run this one again. I could run both of them, but I don't want to run both of them. I want to run one. Right. Now we didn't get the same error, right? Because it doesn't complain about the factories and all of that stuff. Now we are actually in here, right?
Yes.
And the problem we're getting is that we have a 404, but we got a 200, right? That's perfectly normal because we don't have a controller and we don't have any route for this particular thing, right? So we can close this, go to routes, index.js, and here I can just say .get articles, and here I would have to create a controller. So we're gonna say articles controller and probably an index action, right?
How is this written if you have more actions? Do you just change them, or?
I can just chain them.
Okay, cool.
So we're just gonna say articles controller, right? And I want to separate them. A lot of people would say that you can have them in the same file, but I prefer to separate them. Egbert 2708, thank you for the follow. Nice to have you with us. We're building a node-based API with Sequelize and attempt to do it in a BDD, TDD kind of way. Outside in, also known as acceptance unit test cycle. Let's see. We have controllers, so I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to call it articles controller.js.
Wait, on line 4, I think you missed something.
Did I?
The name, the variable you stored in.
Right.
Should that all...
Of course.
Beautiful.
Right. And so here I can just say const articles controller equals an object, and then I just do module exports. And a lot of people export this directly. I don't know, out of old habit, I'm always exporting at the bottom of the file for some reason. And here I just want to do an async function that will be called index, and here that's it, right? And here I don't want to do this. Come on, get lost. And here I need to import the models, right? So I'm going to say const, and I don't remember how I did that, but it did something like models equals, no, sorry, models, oh man, come on. Are we there again?
No.
4 fucking times. Jesus. Right. So we want to require, and then here we do // models. Right. This is what, but I actually only want to include, I don't want to include everything. I just want the article. Right. So I can destruct this like this. Right. And then here I could say const, well, first of all, I can run my test. Don't get carried away, Thomas. No. Request response. I think, yeah, let's run and see what error we're getting, by the way. I'm just curious of where we are at this point. Right, it doesn't render anything. That's where we hang. We were there yesterday as well. This is the problem, of course, right? Because it's not that very intuitive, right? But I could say response send articles, and that would be an empty array for now, right? I think.
I feel like that shouldn't be too hard to fix for SQL. Like, test if there is some kind of return thing. If there's not, halt and throw an error.
One would say so.
One would say.
Let's see if this gives us another. Right. Okay, that's good, because we actually passed the first 200 test. That test passed now, because we do have a route and we do respond with some stuff. But we wanted to get some articles in it, but I need to change the message of five articles. Right, that's the one that is failing for us now. And so here's the moment of truth, of course, right? Because if our factory works and if our model works and the test setup is good, then in principle the only thing we need to do is to say let or const articles equals await article find, what was it? It's find all, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's the only thing we need to pass in. We don't have to pass in anything unless we want to control the serialization, right?
Yes.
Did I misspell something here again?
You have to give it put it in the value of the.
Of course. There we go. Right. Yes. Okay. So we have
Exciting.
the most exciting part of this stream, probably. Yay! Boom! Boom! And now I am curious of what does the faker looks like, right?
Yeah.
So let's put a debugger here. Run this guy again. And let's have a look what is the response body. This was exciting. I didn't know that programming can be so exciting again. Right, so we have 5 articles, and we have, he says Nemo. It's the same thing. Look, he doesn't even, I'm a bit disappointed actually.
No, wasn't it only content that we faked?
But I thought for every time it uses the factory, it will use another.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's true. So I'm a bit surprised that it uses the same content.
Oh.
The same thing.
You faked the title too?
Yeah, I faked the title.
Oh, sorry,
and I faked the lead, and I faked the content, right? But disappointed. How can I do that? I'm not super disappointed, but a little bit. So in Rails, I know that what we had to do is to wrap them in as a block, but that would not work here. Right. I need this to be different. Can I do something like this? Can I do? Let's try that. I don't think this will fly. We'll see. Oh, now it worked on the title, whereas the lead is still the same. So this is the solution. Now it you see the title is different.
Wait,
between
okay.
every factory. So that was actually this. Once again.
Could I see how you did that? Sorry, I was.
Yeah. You weren't paying attention. I totally get it. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm just fucking around. Look, I just created a function for this.
Right.
So let's see if that will, instead of just generating this once, I always invoke this function. Didn't know you can do that. Now I know, and we should be good. We should have different values for everyone. This is not possible to do in terminal, so that's really good, right? You see, we get different values for all of them. That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, faker is nice that way, But for test environment, it doesn't really matter. But it's if you want to show something to a client and you can seed your database with faker data, that's really good. But it comes in handy here as well, because it actually, the paragraph is actually a paragraph, right? So we're filling this with content. Not bad.
Good for end-to-end testing, right? But if you now want to test that the title actually is the title that you want it to be, then it gets harder, I guess.
That gets harder. So the only thing I would have to do, that's a very relevant question. Let's because in this particular setup, what I could do in principle is to say, when I create this create many, I could just pass in one, like the first one.
All right.
I could say that the first one has a title of my fantastic. I can't even fucking spell. article, right?
Mm.
So if I just pass this in, my theory is that the first article we have will have this as title and not the rest of them. Let's see. No? What? Oh, I forgot. I removed the... Sorry. I removed the dot.
Makes sense.
Right, so debug console here, and now we just do response body. We have this, articles 5. No, you shit. All of them are called my fantastic article. I don't like that. I want to be... Well, that's when you do this my create many. If you create only one, then you're probably in more control. But
what if it's instead of an array? Like the title object.
Yeah. Yes. Let's pass this in as an array. Right. Yes. You're totally right. Again, Lucas, you are the fucking genius in this family.
Let's see it pass first.
I'm rooting for you, my friend. I'm rooting for you.
That's nice at least.
I think you're right. And you were right. You were right. Good stuff.
Fuck yes.
Fucking A. Yeah. Awesome. That's really good. That's really good. And that's how this cookie crumbles, people. Right?
That's a good place to leave it. Yeah, true.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. Thanks, Raisin. I think you see, Node.js has a very good reputation in many cases, but it has been a bitch to test. I would say, and I think we found a good solution here, a good balance between what we test and why we test this, and
especially comparing to what I saw in the beginning. I don't know, a few days ago or last week. This seems way more intuitive, kind of the way that it's set up. I like it.
Yeah. I think it does, and I remember when I started out this journey with especially with the factories, for instance, and also with the unit testing, importing those models and stuff. I was a real bitch, but now it kind of works. It kind of works. Okay, so let's see if anybody is interested. Reza, I don't know if you want to take a look at the code. Let me just push this up to GitHub. So I'm going to call this News of the World. Yeah, by the way, Lucas, I have a fantastic little demo that we could do. Well, fantastic. In fact, I don't know how fucking fantastic it is. Well, I just created it, so it must be fantastic. Well, I didn't create it now. I updated it 8 hours ago. So I have a WebSocket demo that we can run with some people. And this actually builds a very, very small chat application using WebSockets, PubSub. So you send a message and everybody else gets it instantly,
That's perfect. I was literally just about to kind of start that journey on my own.
Well, then I will just send this out. I will send this in Slack and in on Twitch. I can just send this out to you. Take a look at this one. It's not perfect, and it's vanilla JavaScript and all of that stuff, but it's it does the job, and I've run it with some students like last year, at the end of last year, and I actually got a wow from some hardcore negative people that attended the course, but they actually said, wow, that's cool. All right, cool. Well, that's good.
Damn,
anyway,
right.
Well, you can't please everyone, but if you can please somebody sometimes, that's good. News of the world. I'm going to call it API. News of the world API here, and just to say demo code for Node API experiments. Node API with So we have a before the program was not connecting from the DB, was it? The factory serving as the articles. No. Well, in a way, let me just type this up first. Sequelize. What happens? Sequelize experiments. What happens is that we are setting up Sequelize, and Sequelize makes the connection with Postgres. So if you check the that's the job that the scaffolder does, like that you don't have to configure it yourself. Like if you let me close all files and close the structure. If we look at the Sequelize RC, for instance, so this is the Sequelize RC is a file that tells Sequelize where it should look for certain parts of the different things it needs. For instance, the configuration. So we have this configuration in the config JSON, in the database config folder. So if we look at that, we can see here that I include two setups, one of the database, one for the development environment and one for the test environment. And I'm using a dialect, so I'm using a PostgreSQL database. And we also state here what will be the name of the database. And that is scaffolded for us when we create the app. And then by issuing the Sequelize db create terminal command, that's when we actually create the database, right? And then, so that's the first step. And then when we create the model, which has its class definition here, we are importing Sequelize, and we are creating this article model here in as JavaScript, but at the same time, this create article migration is being created for us, and that migration is responsible when it's being run or executed, it actually adds a table in this case, because it says create table in the database that we just created. And there are different types of migrations, because you can create tables from scratch, you can update tables, you can delete them, you can do a lot of things. So you basically manage the state of your application through these migrations instead of running your own commands in Postgres. And that's the beauty. Now the factory, just to answer your question, I know that I took a little bit of a detour here, the factory is only used in test environment, but it is based on that model. It's tightly coupled with that particular model. So without the model, the factory won't work, and without the factory, we can't really test the model, because it's that proved to be a real bitch, right, Malukas, when we tried to include that model directly in the test environment.
Yeah. No
good. Right. Well, and that's the beauty of the whole thing, Ryzen, because that is the entire point with using factories. Because if you look at the test in the request specs, right? Here I am saying in this before each block, before I actually make the call to the server, we are creating these factories using we're creating this article using the factories. Yes, the factory creates the entities in the DB. And actually, let's show Ryzen what we looked at yesterday.
Yeah.
Look, that's actually a good. So pay attention now, because this one is in my opinion cool, but then again, I'm a bit nerdy, so I think nerdy things are cool, but hey, it's pretty cool. If we just grab the name of the database, and we're gonna have the one that is called News of the World Test, right? So if I go now to my terminal and I enter PSQL as the user Postgres, and I now do / and I don't have / on my keyboard for some fucking reason. I want to connect to the News of the World Test database. So now it says you're now connected to the database. If I now say DT, we can see that we have well, we have the Sequelize meta table, and we have the articles, right? So if I now do select everything from articles, this is pure SQL, right? There's nothing here, right? Okay, so if I now run my test, and I'm going to stop the execution here, and I'm just going to say dot only. This is the only test I want to run for now. So let's run this test and stop the execution at this point. That's where you see this thing. And I do the same thing, select everything from articles, and now we get those articles created. Right? Now they are in the database. They were created for us in the test environment. But here comes the most beautiful part, my friend, that if I now release this test and allow it to carry on, and the test goes green, and so on. Yes, you ruined my aha moment. But yes, it's responsible for creating and deleting the thing. So if I now do select from articles, it's all empty again. No, it's nothing to be sorry. I was just kidding around. So it creates it and then it deletes it afterwards. And that's the beauty of it, because then we are in full control of the state of the database and we can run our assertions. That's how we can make sure that this will always pass. Like I create 5 articles and I can count and say that 5. If this wasn't deleted, then I would have to manually delete it after each run, because otherwise I would have 5, 10, 15, and so on, right? No, that well, in a way, but
line 6, is that the one?
Once again,
there was that after block. Is another one the cleanup?
That's the cleanup in the after block, right? That's the cleanup in the after block. Now that comes from helpers and the scaffold. So what I've run this demo a few times with my students at work, and I had them set up Sequelize from scratch, NodeJS application from scratch, and all of these things. And it took a long while, because even if it's not many files that needs to be created, there's a lot of tweaking, and it took me a while to figure out how we can get all the factories included in the file or into the system, and actually synced with Sequelize and all of that stuff. It took me a while to figure out a fairly okay application structure. I'm not saying it's perfect, but at least it's an application structure. And so I thought that let's spare them the hassle of having to configure everything themselves. So I wrote the scaffold with the basic setup that I know works and allows me to both write the request specs and the unit test. So I would say that this deletion, it's not really from me, but it comes from Factory Girl package, which is where is it? It's this one, right? So some good people actually created that a while back, and they're using it. So I just include that dependency, so I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. So I leveraged on their work, But I'm pretty happy with I gotta say that I'm pretty happy with the scaffold at this point. There are some outstanding issues, and we will probably have to make it a little better, add some more generators for those tests and so on. But it's pretty okay at this stage. So right. Yeah. No, I'm happy. I'm really happy, actually. I'm really happy with this. I won't forget, but I will do that just now. So we are on Git status, and we created a lot of stuff. Nothing extraordinary that stands out. I renamed that one. Okay, so Git add this, and oh shit, Git add this. And did I add this? No, I need to add this one. Git remote add origin. This, and now git ci. Oh, check git status again. Yeah, all right. Git ci am new adds article model and model, Thomas. Adds article model and articles index action. Right. Or endpoint. Right. That's article model and articles index. Right. Git push origin master. This is a demo, so I don't have to work with feature branches at this stage, but yeah. Let me just get this up here. Right. So there's no README, no, not things like that, but you can definitely check it out. And it should be pretty straightforward too. You should just pull this down, run yarn on it, and then you can do yarn tests. No, he has to done. So no, so you have to do yarn to install the dependencies, and then SQLize DB create, SQLize DB migrate, and then, but he has to do it in Node and test. Right, and then just run the tests. That should do it. I think that should do it. Any questions, people? I'm a bit stoked here. I'm happy today.
It's a good Wednesday.
Compared to the shithole that we dug for ourselves like 4 or 5 days ago, this is actually really good. Yeah.
I agree.
Actually really good. Right. What else can we do? We can. I don't have much time. We're pushing to hour and a half, so I need to quit. But I will run another session tomorrow because I want to be able to work my way through the associations. So we want to go to the next step. Like we want to include more data. We need to get those scopes up and running, so we can serialize this properly, and definitely say that one article has an author, so we want to see that. We also want to group them in categories, sports, business, assign them to that, and so on, right? So there's a lot of things that are kind of interesting, not perhaps from a application domain perspective, but more from how can we do all of that in tests and the setup. But in principle, I can say that Mocha and Chai does what it's supposed to do. That's a nice combo, actually.
Right.
There is, of course, some part of me that is tempted to do this in Jest rather than Mocha and Chai, because.
And what's the reason there?
Well, because when we do component testing in React, on the front end, we usually use Jest, even though I do all my end-to-end testing in Cypress. But I don't know. I wrote I did some unit tests in Jest recently in a demo, and it's pretty much the same thing as Mocha and Chai. So the thing is that Jest is using Chai assertions as well. So
right, okay.
Any questions, people? I hope you enjoyed yourself. Kind of. I mean, if you can enjoy this, I enjoy this, but I guess people also enjoy this. Otherwise, they won't be on Twitch watching me code. They would be watching Counter-Strike or something else, right? What is the most popular game on Twitch nowadays?
On Twitch, I mean, I feel like League of Legends is up there. Definitely.
League of Legends, right.
I don't know. There's new shooters all times, I think.
Right. Raisin, if you want, I can tomorrow. If you want to join by voice, I can send a link to a Google Meet so you can hang around like Lucas does, if you're up for it. But please run the code and give me some feedback on if it worked or not, or and also if the instructions on the npm package are clear enough. You know, any feedback is welcome. Thank you very much, guys. 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 10 seconds will do it for me. Stay cool.
That's a good session.